Hey, everybody. So today I want to talk about thinking in probabilities. Everybody knows that you should do that. So just do it, right? No, there's more to it than that. Like it's and that's where psychology also really comes in. So what I mean is yes, you have to think in probabilities in order to be successful, in order to do anything, because you know, of course, on an intellectual level that not everything's going to go your way every single time. But emotionally, you have to be ready to have losses. And of course, it's obvious, right? But so few people can actually really do that. So I want to talk about the emotional impacts of not being able to think in probabilities and to give you some ways in which you could just automatically train your mind to do that instead of having to remind yourself all the time. Sometimes people just get tripped up on the most basic things, and that's where I want to start today. So, if you can not just think in terms of probabilities, but act and feel and embody the mindset that you have to have in order to work in probabilities, you have to do it on a subconscious level. And like when I first started researching trading psychology, I was reading about Mark Douglas, of course, the founder of trading psychology. He was awesome. He said that mastering this mindset is one of the hardest things that you'll ever do because it's not just committing it to memory, it's not just agreeing to the logic of it. You have to get it into your subconscious. You really have to just make it automatic, make it a part of yourself, embody it. And that is extremely difficult unless you come to me, who has the shortcut to doing that, the hack, as everybody says. And, the way that I help people to interface with their own subconscious is to use eye movements. You can go to my website, check it all out. There's online video sessions. There's even like a free one that you could just see if it agrees with you. Almost everybody does respond to this, and there's other videos that I have about why eye movements work. But so, like when you are really in the zone and you know that you're going to have losses, then your emotions aren't really getting involved very much, and that's good because when they do, your logical brain is designed to go offline. It's just like with PTSD or like even anger management or whatever. You don't want your emotions, or in better ways to put it, is your adrenaline. You don't want your adrenaline to be screwing up your logical brain. If you go into any type of fight or flight, your logical brain is designed to go offline. And that's just the way that humans have evolved. You want to keep your logical brain online. Anyway, probability thinking isn't just smart, it's essential for emotional stability. Um, and we need to build these emotional and subconscious habits. If you are going up and down in terms of your emotions, then um, that's going to cost you a lot of energy. We only have so much mental energy. And of course, you do need your emotions to have gut feelings. That's why we're always going to be better than AI, because we can use our intuition, and that emotional part of the brain is responsible for that right there. You have to be emotionally stable, but definitely not emotionless, because you do have to use your emotions to have hunches and to do what you do. But if you do feel no emotions at all, it might be a sign of denial, which blocks your progress. You have to be in touch with that to some degree. And probability thinking leads to smarter risk assessment, healthier position sizing. It's reduced recklessness, fewer cognitive biases, which can be super powerful that you're not aware of, greater adaptability, and even a deeper sense of confidence and calm. And that can help you to be at your best at all times. The cost of not thinking in probabilities can be measured in real money lost over a trading career, and it's huge. So, I mean, sometimes when I have some resistance to people who don't want to pay for my coaching or even other mentorship, I think it's insane. And mine is different than everybody else's, of course. Mine helps other people's coaching stick. So I'm not trying to compete with coaches who are into like technical stuff, but whatever they teach, I can help you to commit to your emotional brain. We all have a craving for certainty, but certainty in trading is illusion, of course. It feels good, but real success requires getting comfortable with uncertainty. And like I always say that we automatically it sacrifice accuracy for certainty. So if you think about that, it happens all the time. We want to feel like we know what's going on, and it's such a deep um, desire that it happens automatically. Where, like, I don't know, just one example. Like, my wife says she's going to get home at 8 o'clock, so it's 6:30. I'm like, oh, she's gonna be home in an hour and a half. Well, no, she'll be there around 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like, it's not certain, but we act that way. That might not even be the best example, but you can start to tell yourself things like, "Well, the market's got to correct for itself. I mean, it can't keep going down. It just can't." And you start to believe it, like truly. Um, but that's not how the world works. Not how the market works for sure. You can't just try to soothe your own anxiety by assuming things are a certain way. I mean, when you drive home from work, you have to assume you're going to get there. So, I mean, like, we all have to sacrifice a little bit of accuracy and not think about the probabilities at that point. But, when it comes to trading, you really have to have it dialed in. People usually invest in or invent rules to feel safer. But if you're doing that, you're sacrificing your rational thinking. So people would rather feel good in the moment than to become truly great traders. And facing that reality is critical for growth. But, I don't even like that sentence. You're not choosing. People would rather feel good in the moment. It's not like a conscious choice, it's just what happens. Like, here's an example. We all know, like, when parents get divorced, oftentimes the kid will blame themselves, and that's crazy. And the parents now, at least now, we know to tell the kid it's not your fault. At least if you're not fucking retarded, like some of these divorced parents I hear about using their kids as pawns and screwing them up and bad mouthing the other one. But what happens with the kid is the kid, I don't even want to say they have a choice, but there are two alternatives. One is to say that, to tell yourself it must be my fault, it must be something I did because I matter and what I control what happens in life, which is, ridiculous. It's grandiose. The alternative is to realize that I have no power in this world and awful shit happens and it can happen in the future and none of us are safe. So the kid goes with, I must have done this. And then we tell him, no, it's not your fault. But really, we're also reinforcing that, yeah, it's true. It's true that none of us are safe. Bad shit can happen to us at any time. People would rather feel good in the moment than become truly great traders. It's not a conscious choice, it's a subconscious choice. It's just the way that it goes. And certainty feels like a warm blanket on a cold night. It feels good, but it hides the truth. So when things don't go your way, you obviously going to ask yourself, well, what did I do wrong? But like, that's one of the things that Mark Douglas talks about. You could never, ever, you will never know exactly what happened. There are so many factors out there. There's millions and billions of people who are trading, and anything could have happened. You will never, ever know. So you want to have this sense of certainty. If I just do this, then the market's going to reward me, or life's going to reward me, or God's going to reward me, or whatever. You could do every single thing right, and it's not going to work out every single time for you. And I'm sorry about that, but you got to realize that on a very deep level. And what I do is I talk about clean pain versus dirty pain. So clean pain is that it's sad that it happened. it's sad that it didn't go your way, even though you did everything right. And dirty pain is fear, guilt, resentment, anger. Certainly, people get pissed off when the market doesn't do what they want it to do, not even what they think it's going to do. They just want it so bad. And that's another thing is like here in our society anyway, in the United States, I mean, but I think like, it's all over the place. We just feel like we can will it into existence because that's what happens in the movies. Like Rocky, my favorite movie ever, 1977, 76. Yeah, 77. That's a long time ago, man. But um, all you got to do is just want it. You just have to have the heart, and then you just get up and keep fighting, right? That's what you got to do as a trainer, right? You just got to want it. You got to want it, and then you'll make it happen. Oh, yeah, you got to manifest it. All you got to do is manifest it, and then it'll happen for you. No, it's fucking bullshit. It's not going to happen that way. Jeez. You're going to have a whole bunch of losses, and you got to get used to it fast. And then you just keep playing. I mean, not playing because this is not gambling, but you can't just work harder. That's why I call my ebook "Don't Try Harder" because that's the worst thing you can do. And as soon as you start to go bad, then you want it more. Then you put more pressure on yourself. Then you're more afraid that it'll keep going bad. All of that is adrenaline, by the way, and it's going to mess you up. So I mean, it's really tough because you start to go off course, and then going off course throws you so much off course that you start to go in the toilet and you lose all of the money that you worked so hard to earn. Dirty paint. So clean paint and dirty paint. You have to, when things don't go your way, you could get pissed off. You could trash your office. You could do this. You could rip the heads off of your kids' stuffed animals if you have to. I never did that. I'm just saying. I had a client recently who did that. I didn't do it. I love my daughter's stuffed animals. Anyway, um, you could get all pissed off. Where's that going to get you? You're going to be stuck. And so if you think about it in life, the more you can feel the clean pain, the more you can move on from it. Whereas if you're feeling dirty pain, you're stuck. So let me break that down a little bit more. If you're feeling dirty pain, guilt, anger, resentment, even anxiety and fear, you're living in a reality that's just not true. Like if you're angry, it's like, well, this should have happened, or this shouldn't have happened, or the market should have done this, or I should have done this. Well, none of that's real because it didn't happen that way, did it? So just stay in unreality. And if you do that, you have a sense of power. That's why it's attractive to you because if you're angry and you should have been doing this, should have been doing that, well, you're shitting all over yourself. I tell that to clients. Nobody laughs. I think that's super funny. Don't shit all over yourself. And so if you're sad, you have to admit that you're powerless. That's why people hate feeling sad because you're accepting reality. And the reality is that you were powerless. You made the right decisions, perhaps, but the market didn't reward you. And you have to accept that, man. I'm sorry, but that's life. That's reality. You got to feel the clean pain. Next time you start to get all pissed off and your adrenaline starts to go up, try to feel sad instead. Feel that clean pain. It really does suck that it didn't go your way. You have to feel that. You have to grieve that. It's a loss. It's a loss of the expectation of what you thought was going to happen. And then you can move on from it, can't you? You got to feel sad, not mad. All right, here we go. When you feel the dirty pain, you have this illusion of control. People sacrifice accuracy for certainty all the time. It's going to trap you emotionally and definitely financially. And if you can let go of your dirty pain, it frees up so much more energy and it builds real resilience. And that's what you have to have. That's the word is resilience. So, I always tell this story about Ray Allen. I'm a Celtics fan, and, Ray Allen, he's in the Hall of Fame. He was the record holder for a little while for having made the most three-pointers in history until Steph Curry came along. And when the Celtics lost to the Lakers, I think it was like game 5 in like 2009, I think. Anyway, he missed the game winning shot. And then the reporter after the game, reporters ask the dumbest questions, but they got to talk about something. But anyway, the reporter was like, "Hey, Ray, you lost the game. How does that feel?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, sometimes it happens." Because Ray is already thinking in terms of probabilities, even when the NBA championship is on the line. She's like, "Well, it must not feel good because you missed that last shot." And he's like, "Look, I take 300 shots every single day, even on Christmas. My I was prepared. My feet were square, my shoulders were square, and the ball didn't go in. So I did my job, and it just didn't happen, just didn't turn out for us." Can you imagine being that focused, that compartmentalized, that even if you lose the game for your whole team and for your whole city, and then possibly the whole series, they did lose the series that year, then you could still feel totally fine because you did everything you're supposed to do. You gave up that certainty of I'm going to hit every single shot. That's what the reporter was really getting at. Why didn't you hit this shot? Because you're supposed to hit every single shot. The hell you doing? You can't be thinking that way. That's ridiculous. Even if you want it really bad, that's what happens in the movies, right? Ray Allen should have wanted that so bad. He should have willed the game in his favor, should have done it for all the people he cares about, including the wonderful city of Boston and their charming fans. So, like, it's just has to be that way. You can have a loss in the moment and you can let it go, but you have to be sad first. And then if you're obsessing over past outcomes, what is that? You're not accepting reality, man. So if you can focus only on what you can control, it leads to success. It leads to emotional freedom. It leads to professional level consistency. So much easier said than done. And yes, you've heard this from every other coach or influencer or whatever, but they don't get into detail like I do, and they don't have the wisdom to tell you that you really just got to be sad. What they do is they say, think in terms of probability. You have to do it, so do it. And if you can't do it, then try harder to do it. If that still doesn't work, well, you just got to do it. That's what really I can't stand, because in coaching, it gets to a point where you can give them all these tips and tricks and ways to think about it and ways to reframe the situation. And then when it comes down to it, the coach, all they can have left is like, well, you better fucking figure it out. You got to fucking figure it out. You got to do it. Whereas I can really help you on a subconscious level to get past. I know I keep telling you like how I'm different and better, but I mean, you know, what are you gonna do? What should I be saying? Um, so yeah, you if you start to get into a habit of feeling dirty pain and of sacrificing accuracy for certainty, you're going to lose your grip on the big picture, and it's just you're going to be lost. And then the more you do that, the more lost you'll get, which is going to make you even more lost. It's a vicious cycle. It's not fair. It's terrible. And if you talk to your past self that did cling to the anger, um, then that can help, because if you're like consciously examining your feelings and challenging your feelings and challenging yourself to let go of the dirty pain, then that's how you grow as a trader, and that's how you grow as a person too. One thing that does sort of crack me up is like trading forces you to get your psychology right. It forces you to be a better person. You could have, somebody could have their wife and their family and their parents begging them to make changes in their life, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You could put it off. With people, you can just say, like, yeah, I'll do it. You can fool yourself, but you can't fool the market. So you're gonna have people who finally become better people because they're finally moved to do what they got to do to be the best trader they can be. So then they become the best person they can be because of that, not because they should be a better person. Um, life is not fair. I realized that quite a long time ago, um, because you got to make sense out of life. And I was always trying to understand, well, why is it happening to me? Why are these bad things happening to me? I'm a good person. You got to give up that. Life is not fair. Maybe there's some kind of ultimate scoreboard out there, and maybe, you're still going to get to heaven or whatever. But in the meantime, while you're here on this earth, it's not fair. So you got to get used to that. And You got to accept uncertainty. Once you can do that, you're really going to start to build contentment through your good processes. And contentment is different than happiness. Happiness is like a short term, happy, good feeling, of course. It's when you make money, and that feels great. People get addicted to it in a literal sense. They really get addicted to that dopamine rush. Excuse me. Contentment is a feeling of well-being that's long term. So even like when they have those every year they come out with this annoying poll or study or whatever. I don't even know how they measure any of this, so it's probably arbitrary anyway, but they talk about the happiest countries in the world. It's never the United States. That always bugs me. But what are they really talking about? They're talking about contentment. So Scandinavian countries always win because they're going for contentment. As a matter of fact, what really shocked me is they're not even trying to be happy. They're like, why what should I try to be happy? It's not going to last. So they're always making moves and acting in favor of contentment. And that's, long-term stability, consistency, safety, and that's what you really need. And that's what you need as a trader. Happiness is thrilling, but if you're doing this, if you're trading for the thrills, then I don't think you're going to do well. I think you really have to be even headed. You can't get too up or too down. And of course, that's every other sports interview again is like you have a rookie who has a good game, and then the reporter who they have to ask something. Wow, well, do you think you finally here in the big leagues? Do you think that your team's going to go all the way this year? Do you think you're going to have a great season this year? You think you're going to have a great career? You think you're going to be in the Hall of Fame? And the guy's like, I'm just trying to focus on the next game. As a matter of fact, I'm just trying to focus on the next at bat. I'm trying to focus on the next pitch. And if the pitcher is in their windup and I'm thinking about, oh, I wonder if I'm going to go in the Hall of Fame, that's not going to get you anywhere at all. You have to make every single trade based on the factors that are happening in that moment. You cannot be thinking about the $5 million you want to make before you retire. You can't have these goals in your mind all the time that are supposedly supposed to be motivating you. They're really only going to add to your adrenaline. And that, once again, is the enemy of every trader. Adrenaline is the enemy of every trader, and global thinking, which is like thinking about the huge big picture, is also an enemy of yours. So you want to become, your goal is not like, just like with Ray Allen, his goal is not to set the record for 3-pointers and win every game. His goal is to make it, to take 300 shots a day and to be as good of a player as he can be. And then the other stuff will follow. I hope that this has been illuminating for you and that you are thinking about probability in a different way. But much more than that, I want you to be able to internalize this because, other coaches, all of them suck except for me. That's a joke. I'm just kidding. But everybody else, they try to get you to change your thoughts. And then hopefully that will help you to change your gut feelings, your subconscious. I have a whole metaphor about this in terms of how your brain works that you can see in another video. But what I'm saying is, like, when you're doing coaching or you're watching a YouTube video from somebody else, it's their logical brain talking to your logical brain about your subconscious. And what we really need to do is talk to your subconscious directly. And that's what my therapy, that's what my coaching, that's what my online mental workouts is all about. Disciplinedownloads.com is about interfacing directly with your subconscious to help this be automatic. So when you're trading, you don't have to be telling yourself, oh, yeah, think about things in terms of probabilities. Oh, yeah, be like Ray Allen or whatever. It's just there and you just do it. So thanks for watching.